Let's get things started here. Let's get things started. I think this is the button. Is that the button? Is that the thing? Get things started. There we are. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it might be where you are out there. Welcome back to the live stream. My name is CSharpFritz, and today's time for another live C# with CSharpFritz discussion, where we're going to be talking about .NET MAUI today. We're going to be building a mobile app. We're continuing a series. This is actually going to be the last episode in the series where we're talking about building and working with native applications for Windows, Mac, iOS, and Android. Today we're going to talk about accessing some of those native features that we have on. I'm noticing how crooked my hat is. We're going to talk about those native features that we have on those devices, on your Android phone, on your iPhone, how we can access some of those capabilities, break outside of just being in the little sandbox of our application, running there, do a little bit more with that. We're also going to dig in a little bit on how to use themes and how to use that pull to refresh gesture that seems so prevalent in our mobile apps. We're going to dive in and take a look at all those things today in this stream. My apologies before we get started here. I had thought I had this scheduled earlier in the week, and I didn't save something right. That's on me. It didn't get persisted correctly. So I know some folks are going to be wondering in because it wasn't scheduled correctly. Usually you have a little bit of notice that, hey, this is coming up, but we'll have a good time here anyway because this is recorded and folks will be able to watch it later. And of course, this is a very discussion-focused training session, not hardcore, here are the facts and build your application and you're done. There's a sample code. But we're going to discuss. This is full of interactions for you, the viewer, to ask questions, talk to each other about what's going on, and how we can learn to make applications. Let me head over. Let's bring up the chat room. Let's take a look and chat about what's going on here. Chat room is right over there. We're going to go for 40 minutes of AMA here. Ask me anything. I'll be responding to the questions and comments that you see pop up right over here. And greeting folks and also answering their questions about .NET, Visual Studio, Azure, and things that are going on in the technical community. How you doing there, Oscar in Catalunya? Good to see you. Digital Lab for Africa is here. Renan, how you doing there? Hop in the Cloud on Twitch. Great to see you. The Sim Racers, happy time zone to you. How you doing there, Tiago? Yeah, I've got this. We're going to get through here. Orgbrat, good morning. Chaotic Monkey on Twitch. Hello, hello. I recognize some of these names. Bitwise 101. Get on the C# bus. We're going to Hawaii. I don't think it works like that. You can get on the bus. I don't think you can take a bus to Hawaii. Hope you have a snorkel. Let me get some music playing here in the background while we're chatting and having a good time here. I'm going to play the Stream Beats Lo-Fi playlist here today. And this is music that is DMCA free, royalty free. There we go. You can listen to it wherever you'd like. It's kind of groovy to have in the background as we're hanging out talking about tech and writing some code together. Big thanks to Harris Heller and his team of creators at streambeats.com for putting this music together. We're listening to today The Lanky Scottish Nerd, hello to you. Stephen, I'm doing quite well, thank you for asking. Mohammed, hello to you in Morocco. Oh, there, Bitwise points out, the bus, it's floating point. See what they did there? It's a floating point bus. That's a thing. Yeah, there you go. Right? I missed. I had the rim shot all ready to go, and Core Bob points out that Jeff's clearly never been on a field trip with Miss Frizzle, the magic school bus. My mother was typically referred to as Mrs. Fritzl. So she was a teacher, and that was a thing. Thank you for sharing the link there, the Lanky Scottish Nerd. Yes, yes. Null Ref check. Hello to you. Yeah, you like the Super C# logo? Yeah. I wear this hat a lot when I'm in person at events and whatnot. It's kind of become my thing. Dare I say, folks have suggested I get a tattoo. Don't know. Mohammed with a question here. How you doing there, Napalm? Mohammed with a question. How does .NET MAUI compete against Flutter? Flutter's a product developed by the folks at Google. It's developed and uses Dart. So very tightly coupled to their Android environment, but they do have it working for other things. Versus .NET MAUI is precompiled, uses C#, uses the .NET ecosystem that's been around for 20 plus years. All the tools and things that you've built with .NET work with .NET MAUI. Visual Studio Code, the command line tools with .NET that we've been working with for the past 5-6 years with .NET Core and now .NET 7, all available and work completely cross-platform with building .NET MAUI applications. So I get this question every week, and every week I answer the same way. You have a complete .NET ecosystem that's built by an organization that builds developer tools that wants you to succeed. It's completely free and open source for you to interact with, versus the Flutter organization isn't charging money for their things. There is no professional level up set of tools that go with Flutter that are made by them. And I'll let you look up the quotes on if you aren't purchasing the product, you are the product. How you doing there, Oscar? At Oscar's company, they created an open source framework for automation testing. That sounds cool. It's a flexible solution that implements the interaction and management of the main automation engines for the web using Selenium, mobile with Appium, and desktop using the WinApp driver environments. Very cool. That's pretty cool to hear. All written in C# and the Gherkin language. Gherkin, for those of you who might not know, is that standard way to write unit tests, right? The given, when, then types of unit test. It's a very domain-driven language so that you can build and write specifications in a natural language type of way, gets converted into tests that you can then use and interact with. Very cool stuff. Very cool. Stephen with a question. Are there issues with the Android emulators on ARM? Having issues with getting them working with Visual Studio 17.6 Preview 2? That's a question for the Google folks. If Android emulators aren't working on ARM, that's a question for them. They're repackaged and delivered with the Visual Studio install base. Kevin with a question. Not the subject of this stream, but any tips to build software as a service on Azure? Start small. Realize that you're going to end up, if you're successful, scaling up and needing a lot of different services and carrying your tenant identification through to various places that you are working on Azure. It's something where if you scale too quickly, you're going to get into services that are going to cost you more than a smaller install base is going to need. And you may end up with a imbalance in your budget versus the economic reality of how many customers you have. Be prepared to scale. Don't be afraid of using cloud native technologies, Event Grid, Service Bus, containers, so that as more features come online, it becomes easier to scale out horizontally and vertically. You need more processing power. Well, do you need more processing power, or do you need more processors? depending on how you build your application, you want that flexibility to be able to make that decision of add more container instances or give me bigger containers. So embrace and pursue those things. Don't dive all in on an architecture and a paradigm, microservices, CQRS. Don't dive all in on that right from the get-go. Build and evolve an architecture and an application appropriate for your system. If you dive all in on CQRS, you might get a little bit into there and realize this is too complex for what I'm doing. This isn't enough for what I'm doing. You want that flexibility to shift and be ready to make those paradigm shifts. Introduce abstractions early so that when you change architecture, as you scale, as you change things, you have the flexibility to make those decisions. If you don't have the opportunity to make those decisions, that's technical debt. That's going to hurt as you move and look forward. So, a Bible for Azure software as a service. Somebody wrote an Azure software as a service community. Okay. Interesting. All right. That's Microsoft's documented implementation. Is it? Is that official? Doesn't look official. If it was a Microsoft official, I would expect to see a copyright at the bottom. That looks more like a GitHub or community thing. Yeah, I would. There's indicators that I would expect to see a logo on the top that I don't see. Mohammed asks, List View and Collection View both have serious problems on iOS, specifically in-seller item sizes, and updating those sizes when the content changes. I haven't seen that yet. Then again, I haven't worked with iOS yet. I've been focused on Windows and Android, mostly because I'm not deploying with a Mac. A cigar, hello to you in India. Hey, Kevin. You were part of the ISV Success Program. You can also have technical help. We'll see how things go then. Okay, cool. Azure GitHub IO Azure SaaS. That looks more like official documentation, but still, there are components to that I would expect to see that I don't see. It is in the Azure organization. Okay. All right. Hey there, Svava. What mischief indeed. Hello, hello. That's our friend Svava Blount. CW Bransdale, hello. Actually using Bing now. I've been hearing the oh my gosh, I'm using Bing types of comments recently. And Bing was always a pretty good search engine, to be frank. And I would bounce back and forth between Bing, DuckDuckGo, Google, because I just need to get the job done. And with the new features that are coming online for Bing, it's pretty impressive. There's some really neat stuff there. So I think it's time to give Bing another shot and use it for a week or two here and see how things go. Certainly, there's quizzes and fun things to do there that get you points, and you turn in the Bing points, and you can get a gift card for Starbucks or Amazon or all kinds of different places. So, neat stuff. Madi on YouTube asks, should we learn Web3 solidity and blockchain development as an ASP.NET Core web developer? I have strong feelings about Web3. The Web3 as defined by the Web3 pundits. The way that they've defined it is, quite frankly, a lie. They're trying to steal money from you. Blockchain has its purpose. Blockchain is a distributed ledger. There are ways and things that you can interact with blockchain. However, the people that are promoting and encouraging you to use Web3 are the founders of the Ethereum digital currency. The more people that use the digital currency, the more that they get paid. This is what's called a Ponzi scheme. This is Jeff Fritz speaking. This is not the position of Microsoft. I strongly encourage you to avoid what folks call Web3 and the digital currency there, because there are companies, there are banks that are losing billions of dollars because after there's a certain amount of investment, they close up shop and disappear, and nobody can track them, because by the very nature of the digital currency and the blockchain, there is no tracing these people. So it's something that for your financial stability, I would avoid. If you didn't get in early on it and you're able to leverage and sell your digital currency to the next person, sorry. It's dangerous. You're not going to do well. Hey, Curious Drive, can I talk a little bit about building SEO-friendly Blazor apps? If you want to build a search engine optimized Blazor application right now with .NET 7, you want to build that so that it's running on an ASP.NET Core hosted website. This way, you can set up pre-rendering for your Blazor application so that it's pre-rendered, because when the search engines come through and crawl your website, they need to be able to get straight HTML, and they do not execute WebAssembly code. So, whether you're running Blazor server-side or you're running Blazor WebAssembly, you need to turn on server-side pre-rendering inside your ASP.NET Core application, so those initial requests get the content they're looking for. Other interactions past that, you don't want a bot interacting with your application. If you do want a bot interacting with your application, it's not a very good application. Chaotic Monkey's been using Bing for a while to get points for Xbox gift cards. There you go. Absolutely. No, Git is not a blockchain. No, Git is not a blockchain. Git is different. Blockchain has a whole consensus algorithm that happens. There are distributed folks that are mining and keeping tabs and rewarding who updates the blockchain. It's a different concept. There's proof of work that happens, where Git is, here's some code, save it, and there's an ID that goes with it. That's not what blockchain is. Blockchain is significantly different. The list view, Mohammed, I hear you. I can't speak further to that. There's a very clear group talking about features for .NET MAUI on the GitHub repository. You're welcome to comment and provide feedback there. You're welcome, Madi. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Adrian's here from Singapore. Hello, hello. H4 Games asks, do I think MAUI will replace WPF and Xamarin in the long run? Yes. Yes, I do. WPF doesn't have the capabilities to interact with some of the Windows 11 features. You really have to take extra steps. It's kind of a bolt-on to get those capabilities into there. Versus when you build with .NET MAUI, you don't get just the Windows application. You get the applications for iOS, Android, and Mac OS. So you get, when you build with .NET MAUI, that availability for your applications to be more than just Windows. That's a good thing. That's something that we as developers want to be able to encourage. We want more folks to be able to use our applications. In 2023, there is no such thing as I'm going to build for just one platform. You can't do that. There is no silo that I'm going to target just one set of hardware and be successful. You need to get outside that and get into multiple hardware providers, operating systems when you're building native applications. Now, I use the term successful there a little loosely. Successful is measured by you, not by anybody else. So when I say successful, I'm thinking of the long-term stability and growth of an organization. If you want to be able to deliver your application so that the most audience members can interact with that, most customers can interact with that, you must get on more than just Windows. You're going to want to be on iOS and Android so folks can use your application while they're on their tablet, while they're on their mobile device, and so on and so forth. And Maui is the evolution of Xamarin. It's the Xamarin V Next. Adrian asks, when starting a project, is there a particular reason where I must use a monolithic architecture instead of microservices, or should I just go for microservices all the way from here on out? This goes back to premature optimization is the concern. When you build for microservices, there are architecture considerations that you build in from the beginning, from the get-go. That means you're going to spend a bit of time standing up each one of those services, and you're also going to spend time building the abstraction and communication between those services. Versus if you did something monolithic, it's all in one application. It's all in one service. It's all in one place, and you can rely on those connections. Maybe you introduce interfaces in between those connections, between the various components of your application, so that in the future you can hide those implementations in a microservice, deploy those as microservices. It's a question of speed and productivity. Are you going to be able to start up and build your project as quickly if it's all in one application, or if you have 10, 20 microservices that you built and you spend a lot of time building those, and then building an application that unifies all those things? If you can be productive building the microservices way, go for it. It's my belief that building in a monolithic structure is going to get you initial returns, initial presentation, initial interaction, and customers working with your application. And then when you realize, oh gosh, they're searching the website a lot, push that search out into a microservice. So you can optimize that, scale that. I'm not talking to my watch. Scale that out, optimize it, introduce horizontal shards to your search service, and the rest of your application stands by itself. And as orders come in, then, okay, we need to scale orders and push orders out in a different way, a different service, so on and so forth. Thinking of how you evolve the application while delivering value is a very good thing that folks in tech don't appreciate as much as we should. There's business value to delivering something and getting it working immediately, as soon as possible, right? Minimum viable product. That's a business decision. That's not a technical decision. If we spend all the time building the perfect architecture that's going to support when we've got 10 million users on our website, you're never going to be able to get the first 10 users in until you're able to finally support the 10 million. Those first 10 users are going to help you get to 20, to 50, to 100, to 1,000. Then you can start scaling and introducing those things. So, something to be said for taking your time and developing and evolving your application judiciously. Hey there, Sean. Your new company now has made you the official Blazor Dev Framework guy. Congratulations. That's fantastic. Blazor unified with its initial server cache and then auto switch to WASM is going to be huge. Yes, it is. So new features coming for Blazor with .NET 8. We're looking forward to learning and seeing more as that evolves over the next few months. So we're on. Is it which preview version are we on now? I forget which version because I have to juggle which preview version we're working on versus which preview version you're seeing. I need to make sure we're on preview 2 was released. That was last week. So really cool stuff, and it's growing, evolving, and hopefully we'll see more in the coming months. Do I think Mud Blazor is the best way to do a table in Blazor? I'm not going to give an opinion on one organization's components versus another. There's lots of great components out there. I enjoy using the Progress components. The folks at DevExpress make a great set of components. SyncFusion makes great components. Take a look. They've all got free options available for you to evaluate and try out. Napalm wishes they saw more job opportunities around Maui. Their guess is it's still too new. Understand that it took 10 years for Angular to become an overnight success, for React to become an overnight success. It takes investment, time, development of good practices. I'm not going to say best practices, but good practices and standards, and a community to grow around a technology before you're going to see folks that are hiring and saying, oh my gosh, we need somebody who's got 10 years of experience working with .NET MAUI. Really? So it's coming. It's coming. Give it time. In 3 years, folks are going to be asking for 4 years experience. Yeah. Fantastic story about folks, hiring managers that were asking for 10 years Kubernetes experience 5 years after it had been released. And the folks at Google who were working on the Kubernetes project over there went and applied for a job, and they were turned down by the hiring manager because they didn't have enough experience. And here they were one of the original engineers on the team. And they said, I wrote this thing. And kind of awkward then. How you doing there, Marshall in Brazil? Hello. I'm goal focus oriented. Thank you so much. Yes, grow as you need. Don't buy into the hype. There's a lot of hype. There's a lot of folks that are out here. Gosh, somebody was saying about Web3 and blockchain. Don't get into that. You don't need that to build an application. You want to build something where folks can buy unique items and have something in a marketplace around your application. You don't need blockchain to do that. There are all kinds of data storage mechanisms that you can use that provide that same capability. The folks that are pushing blockchain literally are trying to take your money. Don't do it. Madi asks, what do I think the industry is going to use more in the future? Azure, Azure DevOps, ML.NET, MAUI, Web API, or something else? Well, those are all different things, right? Those are all different things that folks can use. You're talking about a cloud service. You're talking about a DevOps tool set, a mobile tool set, a web API tool set. What do I think folks are going to need more in the future? We're going to need more. We're always going to need more evolving cloud capabilities as the industry discovers new ways, new architectures, and things to interact with. We're going to want those to get to get more performant, to cost less, to better support our applications, make it easier for us to build and deploy things? Are we going to need more Azure DevOps? I'm a firm believer that the DevOps deployment tools, continuous integration and deployment tools, have hit kind of a plateau here where we've got a pretty good feature set. What are you going to put in there that's going to make it easier for us to use? There's things there that we can tune and improve, but I don't. What are you going to leapfrog and invent? There literally needs to be a quantum leap in that feature set. So, mobile tools, web tools, hard to say unless there's a significant evolution in either of those spaces. If folks aren't doing amazing, different, advanced things with mobile, then we just need to level up and have a very good tool set that'll allow us to build for mobile quickly. Just like we've leveled up and we've got amazing tools to build websites quickly. So until there's a generational leap in those technologies, they just need to get better, make us more productive to build cool applications. Ken Thompson caused a stir at Google when he refused to take their mandatory C proficiency test. That's called gatekeeping. Oh, you must know technology X. Do I? Do I really? Is that what you're coding in? Is that what I'm going to be doing day to day? Then stop it. Stop it. I wouldn't pass a mandatory C proficiency test. I haven't worked with C in years and years and years. And even then, it wasn't something that I spent a lot of time with. I preferred Visual Basic because I could get productive and get things done, build the types of applications that folks worked with. So, yeah, and as one of the co-inventors of C, yeah, right. It's one of those things that, come on, really. Stan asks, would Blazor United be a progressive web app? The goal is that it downloads and has offline all the things that you need to interact with as a progressive web app, but it still delivers that first very quick download experience as rendered HTML. Rendered all server side, but in the background as you're interacting with, it delivers and puts down all the progressive web app stuff that you need. When Adrian says, when it comes to mobile game dev with very few 3D objects and animation, would I advise to use .NET MAUI, or should we stick with Unity with C# scripting? I would stick with Unity. Unity is very much optimized for that, and has a much better, more game-focused experience. I would stick there, not knowing much about your game. If you were building something simple like Connect 4, backgammon, checkers, a board game type thing, building with .NET MAUI is going to get the job done. But I think you're going to have a better, more optimized experience working in Unity. So that's strictly my opinion, and not knowing a lot about the project you're working on. We've got about 8 minutes left here for discussion. So good to see everybody. Thank you very much for tuning in today. Taking a look over at my YouTube screen. Yeah, we're in good shape. Somebody was asking about the link to the Twitch stream. We're on Twitch TV/Visual Studio. And there is a bot that is cross-posting between the two services, between YouTube and Twitch, so that you can get that detail, you can get that information that folks are talking about on both platforms. So, it's been an interesting couple of weeks here with spring break happening here in the States. My daughter came home from college, had a fantastic week home. And then, excuse me, of course, had a terrible problem with connecting flights, getting home. Had to drive her back to college last Monday. That's why we were off last Monday. And last night she came home for the weekend to take care of a couple things. Last night she's getting ready for the bus to go back. And the bus doesn't show up. Can't make this up. So getting ready, thinking, oh, we're gonna have to drive her back to school again. And we found another bus line to put her on. So that worked out. Can I gift the C# cap? No, I'm sorry. I do not gift the hats that I wear on stream. I do, for charity, make them available. Once a year, I make them available over on my Twitch stream for donations to charity, and that'll be coming up in May when I do that type of interaction. So I'm flattered. I'm glad you like the hat. Some of our friends that are embroiderers that do crafting streams and crafting content on YouTube and Twitch, they have the pattern for this, and they'll be happy to help you out for a small fee to pay them to stitch it and have it shipped to your home. So very reasonable, the work that they do, and high quality stuff. So, and if you're interested, I can certainly drop some of those streamers' names. Stephen asks, what are my thoughts on Microsoft 365 Copilot? Seems interesting. I haven't been exposed to the features. I have not used the Copilot tool set yet. I appreciate what they're trying to do. I've been doing some of the things that they're saying are kind of built in with it. Like, I've been using Bing Chat to write Excel formulas and macros that I can use in some of the things that I'm working on, or using it to build formulas for Power BI dashboards. I've been doing that. Having it integrated with the tool sounds impressive. I see that tool set as the next evolution of the help window. Hey, I don't know how to do this. Tell me how to do this thing. And because it's more than just a search, but it's interpreting what you're typing, that's going to get us into a better search result for assistance in accomplishing a task. But then being able to implement it, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. We're getting there. I think there's going to be some very interesting automation things that are coming out of this. Cold Hands asks, Dapper versus EF Core, which ORM should I be learning as a beginner? EF Core. Because it's going to simplify away some of the SQL that you would be interacting with. You're not going to have to learn that programming language. You can stay working with your C# programming. That said, when you get into more complex denormalization, joining, and working with data, you're going to want that control that writing SQL, writing SQL is going to give you, and generating stored procedures and the like, and taking advantage of Dapper to optimize those interactions so they occur on the server. And EF Core just reaches in and says, hey, server, go execute this thing and return that. EF Core can do that. Dapper is going to give you a little bit closer to the metal interaction. So I like to use a combination of both. Hey, Thindall, good to see you. But EF Core is going to get you the basic interactions with the database. Dapper, while runs very, very quickly, if you don't know SQL yet, don't use Dapper. Don't use Dapper until you know and understand what's going on in the database. You can inadvertently... Dapper is extremely powerful, but as a beginner, you can inadvertently do some things that are destructive to the database. agree with Thindall here. Knowing the tools that are available are going to help you in the long term. So, and somebody was asking about, somebody had posted a message on Twitter. Gosh, why do you put an interface in front of Entity Framework? Do you ever change your database? Do you ever have a need for that? If you're pivoting between Dapper and Entity Framework because you're optimizing and tuning your database interactions, putting things behind an interface and abstracting away that interaction with Entity Framework centralizes those interactions and means you have one place to go to tune, and all the rest of your application benefits from that. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Yes, it's a little bit of extra work to centralize and put that in place. A little bit. But it's going to go a long way. So, what's so nice there, Florindo? Tell me. Help me out. Give me a little bit more context there. We've got about a minute left here in our Q&A, in our AMA. And then we will get into building a little bit with our Monkey Finder application here. We're gonna wrap up. I realized as I was updating samples for today that we didn't quite finish the navigation capabilities last time we were together. I'm going to review that, and we'll get into and start talking about interacting with Maps applications and internet connectivity, detecting connectivity here on in our application. Then we'll add a CollectionView, and we're going to wrap up by introducing themes to our application. So, I didn't ask you anything. That's right, I didn't. Sachin asks, should we use SQL stored procedures in our applications, or should we use ORM only? I am a strong believer that saying always or only create technical debt. Don't do that. Should you use stored procedures? At some point, you may want to do that. Give yourself that opportunity to say, this makes sense. I need to go use this. This needs to be something I consider. I made this mistake when I was initially using Entity Framework with MySQL to build the ClipTalk application that I work on over on my Twitch stream. I made that mistake that, I can get away with ORM only. I never have to write a stored procedure. But I ran into scenarios where it would make sense to denormalize my data in the database. Store that in much more record-oriented ways with blobs of data that I would read through, serialize and deserialize appropriately, and work with other tables. Looking at that now, there's times when I do use the ORM to read and write from those tables. But when I go to read that data to present on a fully rendered screen, I have the data denormalized and sitting in a field. I'll read that data out and serialize it and paint it on the screen at that point. I get deserialized and serialized backwards all the time. Are we going to cover drop-downs and shell navigation? No, I'm not going to get into that. I'm sorry. If anyone is interested, thank you, Thindall. Alexei, let's go. It's time to move on. Oscar says, I had to use only stored procedures due to our main database had tables with more than 1 million records in it. If your tables have more than 1 million records in it and you're querying by primary key, select from orders where order ID is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You should be able to do that without a stored procedure. You should be able to cleanly do that without a stored procedure. I can't imagine folks would be upset or see a problem with doing a select by ID and say, you must do this by stored procedure. I can appreciate database administrators that, for the purposes of the security and scalability of an application, say you can only interact through stored procedures. That I can appreciate. that they take away direct read and write capabilities on tables for security reasons. It's kind of crazy to do, but I appreciate a diligent database administrator that does that. Do I recommend using Maui App Accelerator to simplify the creation of applications? Maui App Accelerator. Let me make sure. I'm not familiar with that extension. From Matt Lacey. Find project made better. Looks like a cool way to start and get running. I haven't tried it, so I can't recommend it, but it looks like it's a good way to get you started and point in the right direction. React or Angular or Vue or Blazor? Depends. What are you comfortable writing? Can you manage and build lots of JavaScript? Are you comfortable with those organizations, Facebook and Google, shifting and taking those frameworks wherever they need it to go, not where you need it to go, because they're not building it for you, they're building it for them. If you're a C# developer, go with Blazor. No, you do not get precompiled performance gains all the time. That's a myth. You don't necessarily get that all the time. SQL closer to the data, I agree with. It gets you that abstraction. And security, yes, I agree with. All right, let's do this. Let's head over. I have written some content for... What the heck? That's this. I have written content for our 4th session. This is going to be our final session on .NET MAUI today. It is in branch 0604 at the time of this recording. If you are watching this on a recording, it's probably merged into the main branch, and you won't have to dive down into the child branch. But I will show you. We are in the 0604 folder down here under sessions. Let me bring this up. Let's no, not that one. It is I think it's this one, right? Is that the screen I'm thinking of? I think that's the screen I'm thinking of. I think that's it, right? Did I get that? Yeah, I did. Oh, good. I'm forgetting my own buttons here. So right here is the GitHub repository. C# with CSharpFritz. I dropped the link there in chat. This will put you right into the code that we're going to be working on. I committed and pushed things up here about an hour ago. We're going to be talking about platform features and themes today. Of course, if you go up to the top of the Season 6 folder here, you'll see the description, the links out to the original workshop that this is based on, and the 4 sessions that we're covering here today. I should put links in these sessions back to these videos on YouTube. Kind of provide that kind of cross access, huh? All right. So we're down here talking about platform features and themes, and we're going to build onto where we've gone with the things, with the capabilities, to have this monkey finder application that we're working on. So, all right, here we go. I do want to make sure that I call out that we were talking about MVVM last time and app navigation, and I don't think we got through the last bits down here in navigation. We got our monkey screen here. Excuse me. And I don't think I finished adding the content page. Yes, go ahead, reload. I think, yeah. So the last things that I don't believe I got to previously were around the content page for a specific monkey. So we got through adding the content page for the main page here that lists a collection of monkeys with a binding image and a card view. But we want to add a gesture recognizer, so when we tap one of those, when you click on a monkey, it navigates through and shows you a little bit more details about that. This is that parent-child detail relationship interaction that we see. It's so common in many of our applications. So we add this gesture recognizer and a tap gesture recognizer with a command that's looking in this view model object we've been working on down here. And there's a command to go to details, navigate, go get that specific object that we're going to present inside of the application. So you've clicked on a monkey object, and we're going to reach into that monkey's view model, and we're going to call the go to details command. The parameter we're passing in, we're binding to dot. We're binding to the current object in the collection view. So that's how it passes in this monkey object. So this command is relayed. It's exposed as a command object for that gesture recognizer to call. And we're going to tell the shell, go navigate to our details page and pass in this monkey object with a parameter name called monkey. We're developers. We don't think about naming things complex, interesting parameter names. It's a monkey we're passing in to the details page. Call it the monkey. Our details page over here. This doesn't have the update that I copied over. I could finish this real quick. Or I could just copy over the details that were already there. Let me do that. And just update it with the version where we left it at the end of the third session. 1 second here, and it'll update the screen automatically for us. That was here, this. No, you know what? Hang on. Thinking. Let's do that. Yeah, there it is. That's the 03 version updated. There we go. That's what I was looking for. And yeah. Just update that coming in. All right. Isn't this the... Yeah, 0604. So it's copying in. Yep, replace. There we go. Come on, come on, come on. Finish copying it then. There we go. Yeah, okay. So the view model used here. No, this one. There's the query. We passed a monkey parameter coming out of our main page. We're going to navigate and pass a monkey parameter. Just like in web technology, we have a parameter coming in. We can pass in with routing a parameter into this. But because it's all running in memory, it's kind of we don't have to pull it off of an address bar. We can pull it right out of memory, so we can have richer, more complex data types. So we have a query property that we're going to pass into the property called monkey, and the name of that parameter is, quote, monkey. So we're passing that in, that object that's being passed from this navigation. This object that was selected is being passed into here. Okay. And since that's an observable property, we'll receive notification. We saw last time about how notifications are delivered. We'll receive notification that, hey, there's an object here, and we can update our user interface appropriately. So the user interface that goes with the details page, you can read the documentation about this in the GitHub repository. Has just a layout here that is going to show inside a grid, a box with an image in the middle that is, here's the monkey that's appearing. We have a label that is the name of the monkey, and underneath that just a couple of bits of demographic information, location, population, and some details. So there was some other routing configuration that was done over here so that we know how to navigate between them. I'm going to launch this to show you how this works to start. That yellow is bright. When I click Get Monkeys, the monkey list that we saw that we built before, but I can tap into one of these, I can click on it, and it shows me that detail page. So the last session finished with setting up this parent detail relationship. Not bad. Easy to see and interact with. And of course, I have the back button in Windows up top here that I can use to navigate back and forth between the interactions here inside the application. And of course, if I was on iOS, I would have the back button in the top here. If I was on Android, it would be the back button that you have down at the bottom. So it adapts to your appropriate operating system and user interface. Yep, the query property. Lasagna42 on Twitch asks, what's my best suggestion to learn C#? Just learning on your own. You have some VBA experience, but not a ton. Take a look at my playlist here. There's some great content on YouTube, youtube.com/.net. Look for the Learn C# from CSharpFritz, Learn C# with CSharpFritz playlist. I've got dozens of videos in this same very discussion-focused interaction that you can follow. There's also C# 101 videos on the .NET website, .NET. Click the Learn button up there, and you can jump through from that point. The Monkey Finder, it's a very important app. Yes, yes it is. All right, so that's where the third session ended. Let's talk about and get back over to the fourth session here and talk about examining and looking at other things, the platform-specific things that we can work with, like being able to check to see, hey, is there internet available to this device? You might have a phone or a tablet that doesn't have an internet connection. Maybe something happened. Maybe you're on a plane. Maybe you're in a train on a tunnel, or you're somewhere out in a remote area that doesn't have a good Wi-Fi connection. So we should check for internet connectivity before we go and start interacting with services that we're dependent on connecting to over the internet. I see a couple questions about the observable and query properties. Let me go to these questions over here. Adrian on YouTube asks, I've always been confused if I should use observable property attribute on an observable collection. If I use this attribute, am I making it redundant? Because it seems to work. You are making it redundant. An observable collection raises those same interactive bits of information when the content changes. So if we go back over here, we have an observable collection inside, so monkey service, get monkeys is this. Yeah, this right here. Public observable collection right there. And then we have the monkey service, right? If we look at it, if we look at, first off, the description here, it presents a dynamic data collection that provides notifications when items get added or removed, or when the whole list is refreshed. That's what you're trying to get out of the observable property interactions. So over here, right? And you can see some of the code here in the tooltip that it generates, where it sets a property and raises that on-property changed event to be handled by a user interface or other features and capabilities of your application. This is doing the same thing that your observable collection is. So it is redundant. You don't need to do both. An observable collection will raise those notifications appropriately for you. Mohammed asks, do we really need to put the parameter in an observable property? In our case, it does not change after the page is loaded. Sure. You could probably take the observable property off of that, right? Let's try it. If I take the observable property off of the details view model, as Mohammed is suggesting here in YouTube, let's see what happens here. So it's not generating that notification property, the interaction. So there is no code gen happening here, and what is it? Property monkey not found on monkey details view model. It's right there. On detail. Oh, I need to make this public. And make this get set. Thank you, Copilot. And I think we got it. It says build started. We're hanging here. It should be code genning and putting it over there. Yeah, it wasn't public. You're right. You're right. Let's see what we get here. Clean that and try this over again. There we go. Deploy succeeded and off and running. If we say get monkeys, there it's loading. I go to baboon and nothing loads. It's not sending that notification back. It's not raising that notification that, hey, I've got something here, right? Because we're taking this MVVM approach, the binding doesn't know that object is out there. So that's where the benefit of doing this with an observable property, right? Now, right, I could certainly do, right, I could certainly set this up and code it myself. Right, and yeah, generate that. There we go. And say set, thank you. On property changing, right? And if we want to do this right, it should be like that. On property changed. Yep. To raise and send that information. You could do this. And you're getting the exact same code that was written previously. And now I've got it loading. So it's up to you. You don't have to do the observable property. But I end up being able to write significantly less code by taking that approach and let it generate what I need to. So, hey, Chris Jones. T. Williams says, need to switch to C#. Been working on VB for 27 years. Oh, my goodness. There we go. That's fantastic. 27 years with Visual Basic. You're going back into the VB4 and VB5 days. Wow. That is awesome. Awesome stuff there, T. Williams. Much respect. That type of longevity working with the technology, that's really cool. What interests you in getting involved with C#? What's the consideration there? VB3. Ooh, yeah. That's a long time to be doing Visual Basic. That is phenomenal. Making a career with Visual Basic for that long, really cool stuff. Okay, so answered those questions. Let's talk about interacting with some of those native capabilities on the devices. We've worked at this point up in the .NET MAUI sandbox. We haven't reached out and asked the operating system to check things that are platform specific. So let's start off by adding into our Monkey's View model the ability to check and see if you have network connection. And if you don't have network connection, stop you from potentially creating an error scenario where you're going to try and fetch data from our service that's running out on the web. And if you don't have access, you don't have a connection, stop that from happening. So we're going to introduce the iConnectivity interface here. It's built into .NET MAUI, and we're going to be able to check to see what kind of connectivity we have. So I'm going to go into the Monkey's View model, and up here in my constructor, where we're initializing with a service so that we can fetch that data, let's check to see if we have connectivity, and I'm going to put that into a field right there, a read-only field. Visual Studio is helping generate some of that code for me. So we need to register connectivity inside of program so that we know, hey, this is a service that we want to be able to interact with. So I'll jump back over to program CS, MAUI program. Here we go. And thank you. Come on, parse that out. I will say builder services, add singleton, connectivity. Right. iConnectivity. I got it wrong. And we want to pass connectivity, the current connectivity information. I'm not quite sure why I'm getting green lines there. Right? Yeah, I'm down here. That's fine. All right. Now we can check to see if we have network access. And appropriately block, remove interactions if you don't have network access. So, this is over inside of... Yeah, inside the get monkeys method. Yeah, there we go. So here we said if busy, return. Well, not just if is busy, but let's also make sure, hey, do you not have network access? If not, display an alert. Go over here. Thank you. So doing that check ahead of time here. Why am I getting this? That's not on this playlist. All right. So we're going to check for connectivity. If we don't have access to the internet, throw an error. So yeah, I don't know why that started playing. That was popped up in my DMCA free playlist here. Okay. So we'll do that network check when we click Get Monkeys. If I run this on my Windows machine, where clearly I have network, right there it is, compiling, running. Here's the Windows app, and that works. It passes through that connectivity check. If we change this over to the Android emulator, start that where I can turn off network access, we should get this error indicating, there's my demo from last time. Thank you for starting the emulator, but that's not what I want. Thank you. So, emulator is running. Come on, get that thing deployed. You transitioned, I'm sorry, from VB to VBNet when VB.NET came out, and it was an easy move then. Yeah, there were a lot of things to help make that easy at that time. Now in 2023, there's an interesting jump that happens if you're trying to go from VB6 to VB.NET in 2023. So we can see it's building and deploying, doing its thing back here. Oh really? I see you saying deploy failed, but it sure looks like it worked. Succeeded, but deploy failed. Hit that again. Why are we checking the count? It's an unnecessary flash of the screen. Expected install output. What? Failed to parse APK file. Am I getting burned with a new version that popped out here while I was... Look at that. You're going to hit me with an SDK version change. Let me remove all of these. Thinking here about the version change. If I look back over here, come here, you. If we force that to 31, because I've got the property buried in a properties file over there. Let's see what happens here. You sometimes reboot the Android emulator when you get this, or sometimes factory reset. Not sure if that's the same case. Yeah, I'm just gonna double check. Is it a given they're bringing out Blazor United with .NET 8? It's on the schedule. So, will they make it in time for release? Hopefully. Changes happen and sometimes they don't. So, we'll see. But it could be released if they don't make their deadline. It could be released in a reduced feature set. Could not find file assembly info CS. No, it found them. Let's try shutting this down. Android device manager, yes. There it is. There's my Android device. So I can factory reset it here. Yeah, I know. That's okay. Restart it. We'll try to redeploy to it. Wait for this to start up here. So these are all running inside of a virtual machine. So there we go. Starting the emulator? Yeah, it's starting. I tried to deploy too quickly. If you have a list of image URLs, can I force the application to eager cache all these images so that they get displayed normally if I try to use them later with no internet? Yes, you can. And you'll see a lot of folks try to do that. Yes, I see you there. Thank you. I don't know why it's saying that it can't find. The Android stuff here. Because it's not building yet. So, here we go. Time to reinstall Windows. No. No. There it is. We've got the Android DLL built, skipping these other targets. But these end up folding away. Yeah. And telling me that unable to parse the APK requires 33. I don't think I have 33 installed. I'm going to pass on this and go back and figure out why this isn't loading later. But that smells to me like I need a newer version. No, not the release notes. I was trying to click check for updates. So we are downstream from the official releases of things. Yeah, there's an update out there that that I need to install. But if I look at the installer, so I use the Visual Studio installer to install all the things that I need. There you see .NET MAUI. I can go into my individual components here. We can look for Android. There's the .NET SDK for Android. And it's telling me I do have API level 33 installed. So if we stand up another emulator that is... No. I'm targeting .NET 7 Android. If I go back over to here, it's... Yeah, back into the Android device manager. Let's turn this up. Yeah, these things happen all the time. I haven't even gotten there yet. And I believe that's already turned on. That's already there. I haven't even gotten there yet. Because I've been able to run the app from Android. So if we say, give me a new one. Yeah, 33, Pixel 5, Android 13 API. So create that. Here comes the new one. Yeah. Yeah. Get that new one down there running. So. Yep, that permission. So what's being referenced there, what Adrian on YouTube is referencing, is Android. You need to request. You need to demand certain permissions, and inside this Android manifest XML, in addition to having by default some information about the icons and information there, we also need to say, hey, I need to be able to access the network state. So we need this permission entry so that it knows that your application is allowed to detect that. In this way, right, it gives the users warning, my application wants to look at these things. My application needs these interactions. We're going to wait for that to... I'm not going to wait for that to download. Let me flip back to Windows, and we'll try the Android emulator again in a little bit. So, I want to continue with the topic. So, we'll try this again with Android in just a few minutes. We want to be able to access other features on our operating system. So, we can access geolocation information that our devices have, whether it's the Windows machine that I'm using here. You want to be able to access the maps, the location information of a phone, so that you can detect things that are close in proximity to where somebody actually is. You can use the geolocator object. So we're going to receive an iGeolocation in our monkeys view model and interact with that information. So I will add a geolocation. We'll assign a new field, so we stash the geolocator. And we'll create another method inside the view model called getClosestMonkey. So I'll just run down here, collapse all that stuff up. There we go. Right? This way, proximity-wise, we'll be able to find out, well, which one is closest to where Fritz is. And inside that method, yeah, let's fill that out. Talk about what this code does. So if the application isn't busy and or we don't have any monkeys, just return. There are no monkeys in the collection here in memory. You can't get closest monkey if we don't know what the monkeys are. Right? If I don't have a collection. So I'm just going to rename those. Thank you. So get the latest known location of our device. So that this gets translated into some platform specific code that reaches out and says, hey, where do you think you are? And if we don't have a cached bit of information, well, we're going to say, go get me a new location with medium accuracy. And that gets to within 30 to 500 meters of where someone is. So that's still pretty close, right? That's going to get you to within your neighborhood of where you are. We can back that out in precision, right? And we can say within 10 to 100 meters. We can also go out and say within 300 to 3,000 meters. Or further, 1,000 to 5,000 meters. Let's do that. And then we're going to calculate, well, how close are we here? So the calculate distance method here on our location object allows us to do that calculation. Right, there's a triangulation you have to do, a triangular formula you have to do with cosines and sines because of the curvature of the Earth to be able to figure out, well, how close is somebody? So calculate distance, we pass in the latitude and longitude of where you are, how far in miles it is, and bring back the first of our monkeys, how close they are. And if we can't get location, we'll raise an appropriate error message. There we go. So our 33 is available here, it says. So with that information added, the last piece is to put a button on the screen. And we'll try running this on the Android. So here I am on the main page. Down at the bottom here, we have the Get Monkeys command button. And now I have the Find Closest button next to it. Get Closest Monkey command. That was inside of our view model. Get Closest Monkey. So it'll fire that. It's only enabled if the screen is not busy. It's going to appear next to this one. It's in row 1, column 1, so it's right next to that one. And it has an outline appearance to it, a little bit of a margin to it. So if I run this on Windows, hang on, let's see what happens. We hit an error. What's the error? Oh, I didn't register the service. Right? I don't... Is that missing from here? It might be missing. Yeah, that's not in the notes. Add singleton. Nope. Geolocation? Geolocation default. I believe that's it. Let's give it a shot. No more monkeys jumping on your bed? Absolutely. That's right. So there we go. Now I've got the two buttons at the bottom. Get monkeys, find closest. When I click find closest, it won't do anything while I don't have a collection of monkeys. So go get the collection, fetches it, and now I can click find closest. And it's the capuchin in Central and South America, based on that proximity check, right? So I'm here in North America, and that one's in Seattle, but the Central American capuchin, because I'm here on the east coast of the States, that one's closer to me. Cool. So simple interaction that's using the location finder there to get that information and display which monkey is closest to you. Let's go back and see if we can run that Android emulator with the 33. See if we can get that running. Try this one more time. So restarting the emulator. There's our Pixel with Android 33 running. And we can see it building down here. There we go. Waiting for the emulator to be ready. Come on. There we go. Deploy started. All right. All right. Come on. And Ooh, new user interface. Done building the project. We're on SDK 33. This should work now. Come on. Get that thing deployed. I'm out of coffee. Yep, found it. Go ahead, push it over. I've got an APK. Sure looks like it built properly. Yep, deploying. We got it. Deploy successful. Here it comes. So there's my .NET logo. Right? There's my monkey finder. I get monkeys. And there they are loaded. Find the closest one. And see, because it demands access to the location, now I get a device-specific interaction here. Well, how often are you allowed to do this? Only while using the application. And I'll try that one more time. And it's Henry and Phoenix is who it's telling me is closest. So I can tinker with where it thinks I am here inside the emulator. This is one of those features. And right now the emulator is telling the emulator tools are telling the Android app that I'm actually in Mountain View, California. So if we were to move my location and say I was up near Seattle, right? There's Portland, Oregon, there's Seattle, right? If I were to say I'm actually there, right? I don't know where this is. I don't care. Sure, right? That if I say that's where I am and set that location, right? Now tell it to find the closest. Oh, it's still on the same. We need to restart the application, right? So there it is. You go away. There it is. And right. We'll turn off the internet in just a second here. How do I get to the menu? No. I know I don't have recent items. Where did they put the menu? I'll just search for it, heck. There we go. So get the monkeys now that we're at new location. Find the closest. Now, there's one in Seattle. Why didn't it give me that one? Let me go back to Philadelphia. Save that point, yes. So, now in Philadelphia. It's still using the cached location. Yes, close. And it should pick up now. I should probably put it in, like, Florida. Why are you still telling me Phoenix, man? Relaunch that, and let's turn off the network. So let's turn off the network. We were talking about this. Hey, I'm on T-Mobile. Yeah, turn off all that. Yep. And that. So we're kind of on like airport mode, right? And if I tell it get monkeys, it's detected that I have no network, and it gives me that connectivity information. So I'll go turn these back on. It thinks it's on T-Mobile. It thinks it has Wi-Fi. Yes, yes. Thank you. And if I tell it find closest, it still goes back and it... Let's zoom out here. Put me somewhere completely different. Right? Let's put me in Brazil somewhere. Can you find me Rio? No, just close enough. right? Set that as my location. So it still has the saved location. Let's go. There's the menu. But I want to close the application. Thank you. Relaunch it. So I get a fresh copy of the location, right? It's doing that get last known, and it knows what it is. And it's cached, is what I'm seeing. So I'm going to force it to update every time. And redeploy. Just to make sure that we can make this happen. Restart the emulator itself. If I power it off and then power it back on, it's still cached. It's still cached in memory. Right? If I powered down, not just powered off, but it still has it memory. Yeah, it's storing that location. So now it's deploying. We'll get a fresh copy here where it's always going to get the location. And since I'm forcing it, we'll get that location that we've specified over here, hopefully. So there you go, in Brazil. So now if I go back over here to, why don't you show me what that point is? And if I tell it find closest, now it's looking based on Philadelphia. And now it's telling me that capuchin monkey. Go back to Seattle. Come on, find me the one that's in Seattle. There you go. Sebastian in Seattle. This one. So I'm using the native capabilities of the device. Great. Let's exit here. I'm going to do the rest of the demos in Windows so they can run a little bit faster as we go through here. So there's all kinds of other capabilities. You can get into the camera. You can get into the file system and do other interactions. There's definitions and ways that you can work with those. The last bit we're going to add here is about the map into the details view model. We're actually going to launch and jump into the map. So on the monkey details view model, we're going to add a reference to being able to work with the map. Okay. Oh yeah, there's somebody was saying about demanding capabilities. The project's already configured for the required permissions for geolocation, but there's the additional information that you need to configure here. So I'll let you explore that information yourself, but let's set up map interactions. So this is in the monkey details view model. We'll reference and be able to work with the map features of our operating system. So we're going to add a command here to open the map. Right? Open the map capabilities. Move the field up there. There we go. So open map. When you click it, we're going to, for the currently loaded monkey object, grab its latitude and longitude, and we're going to name the map after whatever the monkey is. And we're going to set the navigation mode. We're not doing routing. We're not setting up driving directions. We're looking for a specific location. We can do other routing information. We can request that interaction here. But we just want to put a pin on the map and show you where that is. So we're going to say none. There is no navigation going on here. And we're going to update the XAML to add a button that allows you to show it on the map. So just above the monkey details, we'll add this button. Details page. Just above, but in that stack layout. There's the button, Show on Map. Cool. Try that one more time. Is this a good move? Every time new APIs come in or the API change, .NET has to adjust quickly. Right. That's the way it is with any application that you're writing, building, and keeping up with. Yes. When there's new APIs released, you need to update your applications. And a vendor, Microsoft and the .NET team, need to update the APIs to keep up with those capabilities. So I'll get the collection of monkeys. I'll take a look at that capuchin. I didn't register something here, didn't I? I bet I didn't register the map. Got to register the map service. Go back and do this. There's this continuous, right, back and forth pattern that we're going to see and work with here. Yep, and where was it? Yeah, map.default. There we go. Thank you. Restart that. Yep, not just .NET. You're going to see that with Flutter. You're going to see that with folks that are building and using tools to work natively with iOS, with Android. So, all right, so Capuchin, there we go. Now I get my Show on Map button. When I click that, oh, my Maps app here on Windows needs an update. That's fine, go ahead. You do that. But we'll also see this on Android. And there we go. No, don't access my precise location, but there's where the capuchin monkey is by the details that were logged in our data. They're in the middle of Nicaragua. So if we choose a different one, so try Henry, who's here in Phoenix, and the Maps app finds Henry in Phoenix, Arizona. Cool. So, nice way to have that integration between your application and the rest of the native features of the operating system. You need to tell the radio to turn on to get a location. I've done that. I've got the geolocation turned on. Thank you. So, yeah, that's right. The only time you don't need to worry about API SDK updates is when there aren't any. When they're no longer being developed and evolving. Yes, the get last known location is being done to save battery. Android occasionally updates it, but you don't have control of that. No, the data is saved out there in a JSON file that we've been connecting to and working with. Oh, come on. Type correctly, Fritz. Wow. Right. So this is getting it from our friend James Montemagno's website. There's a JSON file that's sitting out there on disk that we're just fetching and loading. Get last known location does not engage the radio. It's being updated in the background every so often. Yes, I like Visual Studio Code. Okay. Gosh, I have 10 minutes left. So there is information about iOS safe areas. Now with updates to the device, sometimes up at the top of your iPhone, so you can see it here on mine, there's a black area up at the top there that you can't really work in. You can get that information and make sure that you don't put content in there. So that notch, there's also, right, what do they call the new bar that appears there on some of the phones? you want to be able to handle that. So we can add a namespace for specifically working with those iOS features. I'll add it up here so that we can tinker with that. And we can make sure that we use only the safe areas. So that you purposely avoid putting things in that content. So if we had an iOS simulator, I don't have one handy, we can allow it to dynamic island, that's what they call it. Yeah. We can get it to avoid those entries. If we want to add pull to refresh to our application, so the list view has support for that built in. A refresh view allows developers to add that pull to refresh to other controls such as the scroll view and collection view. So let's add the refresh view to the collection view that we have in the application. So we'll just wrap the collection view on the home page with a refresh view here. And down at the end of collection view. And now I have the sticky indenting up here. So I can see there's the level that I'm at as I'm working further inside my markup. Kind of handy to have. And I can click right back to the refresh view. So it spans 2 columns. When it refreshes, we're going to call the getMonkeys command again. And as it's refreshing, we're going to bind to the isRefreshing property. Gosh, we need an isRefreshing property, huh? So let's put a property out there for that. And there we go. And when we're finished getting monkeys, we'll set isRefreshing to false. Here. Thank you. Copilot finishing the code for me. And done. Okay. There is a bug in iOS. So, I think that's... I thought there was... no matter. So, get monkeys, fetches the data, and it's not pulling to refresh. Or is it not doing it because I'm on a Windows device? How we doing? Let that rebuild. I still have the Android device hanging out there. It's not shut down, it's just closed. So it should restart. Get that running. Yep, there's the emulator, and you can see it knows how to do that stretch. Once we have the refresh view bits deployed over here, we should be able to get that running. And here we go. There's the final deploy. The last bits that we were going to talk about, yeah, there's some layout things we can do, grid layout, and change the way that it appears. you're welcome to tinker with that, what the different views are. So you can even include a, hey, there's no data appearance. So there we're getting the monkeys. See how the little spinner appears there on top of Baboon? I release, and it does the refresh. It's the same data, so. Cool. I'll minimize that for now. So, there's this empty view that's in the collection view that you can use to display, hey, when there is no data, to show something. Let me just put that in there as well. So collection view, there's the item template, but what do we display when we don't have any data? So we'll display this no data image that is sitting in our resources, images, no data, right? And I'll restart it on Windows. We are just about out of time here. So now why didn't it, when there was no data, it should have shown that. Yeah, collection view has the ability to define headers and footers, but it should have when there was no data. We should have gotten the empty view to start here, and it didn't show it. It didn't because the collection didn't notify that there was no data. All right. I know what's going on there. We are out of time. There's other information down here about themes that you can go through so that you can introduce and add a dark theme to your application as well. I'll leave this to you to go through. This is all about adding styles into, and there you see the style, and defining classes for those styles inside of your application, and having those resources so that you have a background version and a dark version of background colors and labels, so that it pivots between them. And you can then, right there, it's updating all the colors. And where's the toggle? There's a toggle hiding here. I don't see the toggle. And I don't remember where it was. There's all the resources. Base label, background color. Oh, it's picking up and detecting and changing based on the app theme binding. So it's picking up the theme that the device has and pivoting appropriately. So cool stuff. I encourage you to check this out. I am out of time. My apologies. I'll head back over here. There we go. Thank you so much for tuning in, friends. I really appreciate you joining. It's been a lot of fun here today. Just a few questions as I get out of here. Is it possible to do something like implementing in .NET MAUI actual designs from Dribble, so you can see how complex Dribble designs are made with MAUI? I'm sorry, that's a little bit further along than I want to cover. I would defer to some of our friends like James Montemagno and the .NET MAUI team to show some of that. Why does the front end code behind file not automatically become the default binding context? You've been doing that manually and it just works. The code behind is managing the layout, managing the interaction, and the structure of the page. Binding context is handing off so that other things can take control of that interaction. You get to choose to do that binding to hand off to things. So if you want to run it in the same thing, you can do that. If you want to hand it off to a view model class, you can do that as well. It's an option that you have. Have a good one, Napalm. All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Those of you that are watching on YouTube, have a fantastic rest of your day. There's lots of great content over here that you can check out on the playlist, on the other videos that are here on the .NET, on the .NET channel. And if you're watching on YouTube, let's set up and do a raid. Let's connect out. Let's get to somebody else on the big Twitch TV network that might be fun to join and encourage, who's building some software. Let me get you connected to... let me see here. Let's get you connected to somebody new who's working on a Twitch bot using C#. They're writing some code to interact with Twitch. And I'm going to let them know we're coming. So let's join. This is Alicia Griffin. She's a live streamer based in the UK who's got some great content about building and working with C# code. So here we go. We're going to head over to her channel. Make sure I spelled it right. What's the best program written in C#? The one that your customers enjoy and are hopefully paying you to use. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will be back next week. We're going to be talking about building applications for the cloud for our next series. How we can interact and take advantage of cloud features to grow and scale applications. We're going to start small and slowly grow an application and take advantage of more and more cloud services. I appreciate you tuning in. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. I wish you good health and good coding. Take care.